¿Qué pasa, YouTube? What's up, WBE fans? Have for y'all today a very special video discussing new additions to the Durham Druddigons that will be following us for the remainder of the season. Now, some of you guys did actually point out why I had a certain Pokemon that I had initially traded when trades should have gone in effect in week 7. I'll get into that, don't worry. But if you guys do enjoy the video, hit that thumbs up button down below, and by all means, please let me know in the comment section below, do you like these trades? Do you dislike these trades? Do you think this was good, bad? You think it was mediocre? Do you think it was okay? Do you think we evened out? Do you think we got hurt more than we gained? I don't know, let me know in the comment section below. I've had people in the past who have agreed with trades, and I've had people in the past who have disagreed, and I love reading your guys' thoughts on the possible trades and stuff and seeing how things will affect us for the rest of the season. So I think with that, enough rambling, let's jump right into this. So of course, if you guys already saw my week 7 match and you saw SixftHax week 7 match, you will know that we both actually had Dragonite. But the thing about the week 7 match was that I actually had to play week 7 before I played my week 6 match, and I had to play it the day after I played my week 5 match. So I think I ended up playing not last Sunday, not yesterday Sunday, but like the Sunday before then, I think it was when I played, or maybe it might have been the Monday on the day. I don't remember, but it was one of those days. And yeah, I had to play week 7 before week 6, so I was like a week ahead. And then eventually on the very last day of trades, or the very last night of trades, I was like, oh hey, you want to make these trades, Fane? And he hit me up and we went down for it. So originally I did have Dragonite, and it really pains me to have had to trade Dragonite, but honestly guys, it's just it was not working out. Like, being forced to need to defog every time I brought it was really bad. And realistically, the only time Dragonite could get a chance to set up was when it had its multi-scale and range. And I know I said in my draft analysis video I was super excited to use Dragonite. Dragonite is easily one of my all-time favorite Pokemon in general, but just it wasn't really functioning on the team, and it didn't really have the best matchups when it came to certain weeks. Honestly, I really felt like Dragonite hindered us more than it really helped us. So I know some of you guys are gonna be upset that I had to trade Dragonite, but I'm sorry, it had to be done. So we ended up trading Dragonite to SixftHax for Kamo, aka The Miz. So yeah, unfortunately no more Dragonite after week 7, even though if it didn't get flinched, we could have potentially swept or done a lot of work with Dragonite in its final week. Unfortunately though, it was not working out. But Kamo was actually something that me and my friend Office were discussing for like weeks now, and trying to see if we could get it traded to us. And thankfully, like 30 minutes before the trade deadline, I hit up Feint and he was like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead, make the trade for Dragonite for Kamo. And I got so happy, bro. Honestly, Kamo adds so much to our team that Dragonite did not. Essentially, the only real thing that we lose is the flying typing, which can be very nice, obviously, because we don't want to get ground spam, but we'll worry about that later in matchups. But for right now, Kamo adds so many different things to our squad. Overall, its offensive prowess is amazing. Kamo is one of those very interesting Pokemon where it can kind of be hit or miss depending on how things go. I've had Kamo before in a draft league, and the few times I did bring it, it did actually put in a lot of work. A great aspect of Kamo is the fact that it can run both physical and special sets. As you can see, both of its offenses are very good. It's got amazing bulk, and a base 85 speed is really nice too, because that 5 base speed can honestly just really help out in so many scenarios. Another really cool thing about Kamo is that this gives us a 3rd Stealth Rocker. Now, for those of you who have not been with me for a while now, you won't know that in plenty of videos I've done before, plenty of draft analysis I've done before, I'm a huge advocate of always trying to have 3 Stealth Rockers. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it fit on our initial draft, but now with having Kamo as a 3rd Stealth Rocker, I'm no longer tied down to just having to use Steelix or Cradily. And while yes, Kamo sometimes may not always want to run Stealth Rocks because of its base 85 speed, it is a more reliable Stealth Rocker, which is absolutely amazing in my opinion. I definitely am going to be burning rocks on Kamo, which is going to be great, so I'm not going to be entirely too upset about that. But back to what I was saying about its offensive potential. It can go mixed, physical, special, has so many different move pools. It gets access to Dragon Dance, belly drum, bulk up. If I got Calm Mind, it would be absolutely insane too. It gets Autotomize and Rock Polish, which are basically the same thing, I suppose, which is actually really cool if you think about it, because it doesn't need to just rely on Dragon Dance. It can also reliably go with a double boosting speed nature. While Dragonite, yes, could have done the same, the nice thing about Kommo is that it has access to a very awesome Dragon Stab in the form of Clanging Scales, which is kind of in the middle of Dragon Claw and Outrage. If you really want to think about it like that, it's just on the special side as opposed to the physical side. But the great thing about this is that Kommo is not forced to be locked into Clanging Scales. It's not forced to be confused after I go for it 2 or 3 times. And even though it may not have access to something like Calm Mind, it does get access to Work Up, which would be really cool to run. You can't even see Work Up here. I'll put it up here. Can I put it up here? There we go. Yeah, see, it gets Work Up, which is actually really cool, because this allows us to run like Work Up, Autotomize potentially, which would be pretty awesome. Like Dragon Dance, Outrage obviously is still a really good thing, even though yes, it does get access to Draco Meteor. You don't want to always get that -2 in its special attack. And because of its great bulk and the fact that it's only 4 times weak to Fairy, I don't know why my Photoshop opened there for a second, but Fairy is not as common as Ice typing, I would want to say. Like, something can easily run HP Ice for Dragonite, and that in itself makes it so much easier for that Pokemon to deal with Dragonite. But with Kommo, Hidden Power Fairy is not a thing. Not as many Pokemon learn Fairy moves as Pokemon learn Ice type moves, which in itself just really helps it be able to set up as well. I've tried out bulky sets of Kommo, which is a more reliable bulky variant, I believe, than Dragonite, just because Dragonite, of course, does not like Stealth Rocks. Kommo is not affected by Stealth Rocks, which is amazing. As we saw, its move pool is also really, really good. I could ramble on about this thing for a while. Its abilities are also very solid. These are abilities that my opponents are definitely going to need to prepare for, which is amazing. I personally like Kommo on the squad. I'm a huge fan of double fightings on a draft, and I think if you look through a bunch of my recent draft analysis, I do actually have double fighting types. I don't know why, I just really like that. But we have an amazing Pursuit Trapper in Alolan Muck already, so hey, we don't have to worry about Psychic types as much, and we still have pretty solid answers to Fairy types as well for Kommo. So yeah, really happy to have Kommo. Have high hopes for it, and I definitely think that this will be brought quite a few times in the remainder of the season here. So another trade that we actually did end up making to the Atlantic Umbreons, I believe is Fanatec's team, was the fact that we traded them Durant for, I believe, Sceptile, but I really didn't want Sceptile. I felt like Sceptile didn't necessarily add particularly anything good to our team. So while I only really got to use Durant once, and it still can be a very scary offensive mon because of Swarm and Hustle, I felt that if anything, it was not going to be helping us out, and I was fine with keeping Sceptile. But the more I thought about it, the more I talked to my boys Harris and Shuckle King, the more we settled on trying to get Zatude actually for our second tier 4. Unfortunately though, it turned out that Zatu had already been picked, so we had to go down a different route, and this is probably one of the 3 mons that I am least excited to have, but I can't deny the fact that it still adds something to the team that is going to be very nice, and that is going to be Moltres, aka Beth, after Beth Phoenix, obviously. So the nice thing about Moltres is that its dual stab is actually pretty insane. Fire Blast plus Hurricane can absolutely murder anything that is not basically a rock type, which even then, because it's any Z move, I could run like Z Solar Beam if I really wanted to, which would be pretty awesome, honestly. Or like Z Sunny Day with Solar Beam would be really cool. But yeah, Moltres, offensively wise, is amazing. Its speed tier at base 90 is obviously not as good as base 95 from Zatude or base 109 from Durant, but it's not necessarily that big of an issue. And while this does give us another Pokemon that is weak to Stealth Rocks, Moltres is one of those Pokemon where it doesn't necessarily need to come every single game, but it's definitely something that if my opponent is very weak to flying or fire type moves, or both in general, they need to prepare for this, and then they might over prep for it, and that's something that I can easily take advantage of. This gives us a nice little form of momentum with the U-turn, so we keep the momentum because Durant had Baton Pass, Zatu had Baton Pass and U-turn, but Moltres here does have U-turn. Obviously having Magic Bounce would be amazing, but hey, you can't argue with Pressure and Flame Body both being very solid abilities. We could even run something like Sub Roost toxic Moltres if I want it to be cancerous in certain matchups. Even agility is actually really cool to run on Moltres because that gives it an option to be able to sweep, and it does get defog while you don't necessarily want to defog with Moltres because of its great natural bulk and the fact that it does get access to Roost. Then it can, in certain scenarios, be a very solid version of hazard removal if it really comes down to it. There are quite a few things that Moltres can do. It can be offensive and it can also be defensive, which is actually really nice. I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring Moltres and use it effectively. I know a lot of my friends are a huge fan of Moltres just because it's one of those mons where if it meets the criteria, it's definitely going to be a giant problem for my opponent to try and deal with. And again, it's definitely one of those mons that my opponent are going to have to take into consideration that I may want to bring either way, because if they are weak to the certain coverage or the certain typing of Moltres, then they're gonna have to prepare for that regardless. So not very excited to have Moltres, but maybe it'll be able to put in some work this season. And moving on to our final trade, because we ended up trading off Dragonite, I really felt like we didn't need Cryogonal, and much like Dragonite in general, Cryogonal just really had a tough time being put on a team for any type of matchup, mainly because of its base 50 defense. A cool idea I had in mind that I wanted to try and bring to playoffs potentially was Hail with Aurora Veil, which I think would have been pretty awesome. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use that anymore. And the only real good aspect of Cryogonal was the fact that it had a rapid spin and it was decently fast with base 105 speed. But because of it only having a base 95 special attack set, it doesn't necessarily do much damage at all, which really sucks. Like, there were some matchups where if Cryogonal had like a base 105 or like 110 special attack, I think I would have definitely brought it because it was doing that extra damage that I needed it to do in order to actually really function. Unfortunately though, it fell flat at only base 95. It wasn't doing enough damage, so I never really found myself having Cryogonal on even rough drafts of my teams for the matchup. So I decided to drop Cryogonal here for another one of my favorite all-time Pokemon, and I feel like this kind of makes up for Dragonite. And we have 5150, aka Tauros. Now for those of you who have been with me for a while now, you will know Tauros is hands down one of my all-time favorite draft league mons, not just one of my favorite mons in general. This thing is an absolute monster. Base 110 speed is amazing, even though it only has base 100 attack. That is where Sheer Force comes in handy. This is a phenomenal ability to have on Tauros. This makes Body Slam absolutely deadly. It makes even its special attack at base only 40. This makes Tauros' special attack viable. Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, moves I've ran in the past on Sheer Force Tauros just because of that extra boost of power that Sheer Force does give it. Not to mention that you don't take Life Orb damage either, which can be amazing to bluff potential choice sets. While Tauros may not be a mon that I would ever bring with the Z move because it either being choice scarfed or Life Orb is what I've seen work out best with it, it's still going to be able to bluff potential choice sets because I can't stay locked into a move, and then I won't be showing Life Orb damage if I go for a move that is affected by Sheer Force, and that in itself is very beneficial as well. While its supported moves are not necessarily the best around, it's mainly here just to be an offensive presence, and Tauros is also a very solid choice scarfer from what I've used myself in the past. There are a couple creative sets that Tauros could run, so maybe we'll end up busting out some certain sets here for the rest of the season. But right now I don't have too much to say about Tauros because we know what it does. It hits like a truck with Sheer Force. It's amazing because of Life Orb plus Sheer Force. It can definitely be a mixed mon because of Sheer Force, even with its base 40 special attack. I promise you that if I bring Tauros, it is going to mostly always have a special attack just because that is how helpful Sheer Force really is. And it does get access to Intimidate, which I may be running Sheer Force more often than Intimidate, but Intimidate is still easily one of the best abilities in a draft league, and being able to -1 attack my opponent is going to be absolutely amazing as well for the rest of our team. But yeah guys, those are our trades. We have Tauros, we have Kamo, and we have Moltres now on your screen should be our updated squad. Let me know what you think about the trades in the comment section below. These go in effect immediately for week 8 and the remainder of this season. So with that being said, leave your thoughts down below, and I will see you all Friday with our team builder, and then Saturday with our week 8 battles. So thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.